Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight our focus is on the pressing issue, that is the security situation on the bordering areas of Pakistan and Pakistan ties with Afghanistan. Pakistan has urged United Nations to look into the banned outfit TTP, that how it has acquired this financing and of course the equipment that they are using. The weaponry that is very advanced is being used by banned TTP, and they are of course targeting areas in Pakistan. In today's program we will be looking at these security challenges. When we look at the background, of course Pakistan has hosted more than 5 million Afghan refugees for over 40 years without any help from the world at large. What are the prospects of Pakistan's ties with Afghanistan? We will be exploring in today's program. And of course, when we look at the roadmap for stability in Afghanistan, that is also a question mark at this point in time. What needs to be done by international community, we will be looking at in today's program. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by defense analyst Brigadier retired Masood Ahmad. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by analyst Mr. Sheharyar Khan. Welcome to the program. And we are joined online by Mr. Hasaan Khan, who is analyst. Welcome to the program. So Brigadier Sahab, let me start with you. Of course, when we look at the security situation in of course Pakistan, that has deteriorated over the past couple of months, and in the recent statement that was made by Munir Akram Saab at United Nations Security Council, that is of significant importance. Can you elaborate for us how you view this statement?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, when Taliban took over Kabul on 15th August 2021, so the terrorist activities in Pakistan, there was a reduction by 84%. So after the taking over of Kabul, then there was a rise, and today there is almost 70% rise in the terrorist activities. As far as the statement made by the Ambassador Munir is concerned, he highlighted two specific factors. One is the weapons available, the latest weapons available to the not only the TTP but also all the other proxies operating from Afghanistan, and secondly the safe havens which from where they are operating, and then the financing which who are financing these terrorists operating from Afghanistan. First of all, I would like to start with this weapons concept. When the Americans initially from 2005 to 2018, they spent about $19 billion to arm and equip the Afghan National Army. And when they left Afghanistan, when they were in haste, they left Afghanistan. So they left weapons worth $7.12 billion in Afghanistan. So today, the south of Afghanistan, the east of Afghanistan are popular for these sale of these latest weapons left by the Americans, especially the Panjwai in the Kandahar region is the weapons market. So anybody can go and can get a weapon of his choice from that area. At the same time, Afghan Taliban, they are equipping and arming the like-minded groups like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, who are operating against Pakistan. The Foreign Policy magazine wrote, basically carried an article, and they said that the Afghan Taliban, now they have become arms traders and they are earning billions of dollars. This was Foreign Policy. And then New York Times also carried a story that thousands of weapons they were left behind by the Americans. Al Jazeera give more details. They said 3 lakhs small arms were left, 2,60,000 heavy weapons, and 61,000 vehicles they were left. So at the same time, so the Afghan Taliban, they've been supplying these weapons and equipment, at the same time arming the TTP and other proxies, especially the Baloch militants operating in the south against Pakistan. So we have documented and provided all the evidence to the Afghan government, as well as this has been disclosed and provided by the United Nations Analytics Support Sanction Monitoring Team. This time again they have provided this evidence. Then the most recently, couple of days back, the CENTCOM chief General Kurela, he said that the Afghan government, they are helping, and they are basically the most benefited organization is TTP, and they are basically a threat to Pakistan's stability. And so he has given all the details, and he's given the figures. So that is one thing. So weapons, this we don't any doubt the Afghan Taliban they are providing. We can subsequently can go into details.
We will be of course exploring more in the program later. But Sheharyar, of course, Brigadier Saab has alluded to the specifics of these weapons that are of course available to Taliban. But how do you look at the steps that are being taken by Pakistani government regarding engaging with the interim Taliban regime?
So Maryam, like Pakistan has basically conducted a lot of like bilateral meetings with various degrees of Taliban leadership. They've also taken on board, and we know that there are like two basically factions within the Taliban that are operating. One is in Kabul and one is in Kandahar. The ideological leadership is in Kandahar, and the, what do you call it, like the more of a their own interior ministry and all of those other sections of their government are operating from Kabul. So Pakistan has talked to both of them. They've like had various talks. A lot of their leadership has come to Pakistan. Pakistan's leadership through various channels has basically taken on board the Afghan regime as well. But unfortunately not much has come out of those meetings as of yet. When we talk about Ambassador Munir's statement, one very important aspect of that statement was that now the TTP is getting ideological support and a lot of like training from Al-Qaeda as well. So that's like a very important statement.
And other countries as well.
Other countries, and obviously supported. He didn't like say it in a lot of words, but he also said that it's like being supported by the Afghan interim regime as well. Now this is a very important statement. This statement brings me back to the Doha agreement, in which the Taliban basically signed this with all the relevant stakeholders, that Afghan soil will not be used by any terrorist organizations to conduct any operations, may it be international or in the regional countries. And Pakistan...
But Sheharyar, at the same time, we are still hearing these verbal reassurances from the Afghan government at this point in time as well, in answer to Pakistani concerns.
So, yeah, Maryam, that is the current modus operandi of the Afghan interim regime, but that does not hold any water. As Brigadier Saab has also mentioned, and a very important UN Sanctions Committee report. And this, I'll tell you how the UN Sanctions Committee team develops this report. So they get like information from all the neighbors, from their intelligence committees, on what their assessments are in regards to all the terrorist organizations that are already operating. And then obviously the US and the Western countries also give their intel on what they basically think the current ground situation is. And that report is very harrowing. And we are not talking a lot about it, and I don't know why, because that report gives a lot of blatant evidence on how the Afghan government or the interim Afghan regime is supporting all of these organizations. That report also goes on to say that the Afghan Taliban are also like providing around $50,000 every month to the leadership of TTP to support their families in Afghanistan. It's written in that report. And that report is a UN report. So it's not coming from Pakistan. It's not coming from any Western country. So this is the UN's own assessment of how the situation on ground is taking forward. That report also says that now Al-Qaeda is providing ideological support, they're providing training support, and they're also providing vehicles to all of the TTP fighters. And this is like, again, coming from the report. Other than that, they're also saying that now a lot of like TTA or the Afghan Taliban fighters, they're also joining TTP as well, because they, in their worldview, they basically believe it's their religious obligation to join the TTP, and the fight that TTP is doing against the state of Pakistan is just. Now, it could have been very easy that the supreme leadership sitting in Kandahar, they could have like given a sermon, they could have like given a fatwa, they could have like reined in all of these terrorist organizations, and they could have like given a fatwa to all of these organizations that any attack on Pakistan or any of our neighbors would be un-Islamic. And Pakistan has like multiple times sent a lot of like people, religious leaders. Mufti Taqi Usmani also went with his like entourage. Pakistan's military leadership also went. Pakistan's political leadership has also made substantial
Engagements
visits,
with, of
engagements too. But none of those have ever come true. And now it's reaching a point in which the bilateral relations between the two countries are being affected.
Right,
the trade relations
right.
are being affected as well.
Bilateral relations are being affected, but Mr. Hassan, how you look at Pakistan's stance at United Nations Security Council, and in your opinion, what kind of steps Pakistan is expecting from United Nations to take in regards to financing, of course, being provided to these banned outfits, because this is posing a threat not only to Pakistan but of course to the global security.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important subject, talking of the TTP nexus with the Afghan Taliban. And this Munir Akram's speech, his address in the United Nations Security Council, where he called for an investigation by the United Nations to find out from where the TTP terrorists or the other terrorist syndicates are getting the weapons, from where they are getting the other supplies, and how they are being supported by whom. So I think he has not directly alleged that the Afghan Taliban or the Amarat-e-Islami is doing, and neither this is the Pakistan's position. Pakistan's position is not that the Amarat-e-Islami is officially supporting the TTP or providing help to the TTP. Pakistan's position is that the TTP is using the Afghan territory, Afghan land,
soil.
Afghan soil for launching terrorist attack against Pakistan. So I think I have my own look. I'm not sure that what role the United Nations can play in it, or either the other organization. I think this is Pakistan's and Afghanistan's problem, and the battle will be both need to set with each other instead of using the loudspeaker for communication with each other. Islamabad and Kabul, historically this is quite unfortunate that we both are very good in accusation and blaming each other for things, but we are not good in directly sitting with each other and finding out what's the problem. Either it is Pakistan, either it is Kabul. So I think we all know that United Nations can play, is least interested, because it is where the US interests are more. I think there you will find the UN there.
Right, but Mr. Hassan, at the end of the day, if this is going to be posing a global security threat, then in your opinion, don't you think that this should be a concern for United Nations as well as US and other allies, as well as the regional partners like China, Russia?
I think we have to take a realistic view of this statement that this is a global threat. Afghanistan is posing, the terrorist syndicate stationed in Afghanistan are posing a global threat. I think the globe is the world international community is least interested in what's going on in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is no more a threat for the US. It's no more that direct threat for the Europe, and we see that. Since 2019, I think the day, it was 19 or 20, the day when negotiation between the Afghan Taliban and the US government started, from that day onward, there is not a single attack launched by any terrorist network from the Afghan side against any interest of the United Nations or the European interest. So they are pretty sure that Taliban are quite well taking care of their interest on Afghan side. So I think, the ETIM, which was posing a threat to the Chinese have directly engaged the Afghan Taliban, and now I think they are getting good result. So this is one is the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and the other is the TTT, the Tajikistan, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Tajikistan, and the TTP. I think these are the concerns for Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and China. However, I think if you look the other terrorist network, so I think Pakistan need to copy the Chinese way, how the Chinese engaged as Amarat-e-Islami, and they have done their job. How the the Tajikistan, the government of Tajikistan, how they engage, and this is the same for Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan. Pakistan's problem with Afghanistan is, I think we need to talk about it and quite instead of just scratching each other back, I think it is better we should communicate with the
Right,
Amarat
right, and
Islamic. The Amarat
communication,
Islamic should communicate
right,
to us
right, Mr.
that the
Hassan.
problem, that this is a threat for both the people of Afghanistan and the people of Pakistan. I think,
and for the
going
region
to
at
the-
large as well. So let me take this question to Brigadier Saab. Of course, given the recent shift in Pakistan's engagement with Afghan Taliban, in your opinion, do you think Pakistan can actually engage with TTP as well? Because there were also some kind of news emerging from Afghan interim government that Pakistani authorities are in talks with TTP, but of course Pakistani officials negated that. So how do you view Pakistan's recent shift in engagement with Afghan Taliban and taking this bilateral ties to, of course, United Nations Security Council?
First of all, I would like to make a
Sure,
comment.
sure. Please go ahead.
Jen Kurila recently, couple of days back, he made a statement before the Senate Arms Committee, and he said the ISK and Al-Qaeda, they both have gained strength inside Afghanistan. Now they are capable to strike across the globe, and he said within 6 months, they can carry out an operation globally without giving us any warnings. So they have the potential, the proxies which are now inside Afghanistan. As far as the Chinese are concerned, look how the double game is being played. The Chinese, they have accepted the Afghan ambassador Bilal Karimi
Right.
a couple of weeks back. But at the same time, they have promised to relocate Eastern Turkestan Islamic movement from Badakhshan to the south. But still, recently there's a report which is in the media that they facilitated one of the leaders of Islamic Turkestan Islamic movement in the Badakhshan area, which was facilitated by the General Directorate of Intelligence. So the Afghan Taliban, they are playing the double game. They are using these proxies as a leverage as a bargaining chip. So the Chinese, they do understand the dynamics. And your second question, I just
Right, right. So I was asking you about the recent shift in
Yes,
Pakistan's
exactly.
stance. And do you
Pakistan,
think that
yes,
Pakistan is going to be engaging with TTP at some point in
not
time?
at all, never.
Right.
We have already committed a mistake in the past, and this time the only thing, there can be talks with the Afghan Taliban, the Afghan interim government. There will be no talks as far as the terrorist Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is concerned. There will be no talks. That is very clear. So at the same time, look, as you have explained in your intro, that we basically looked after Afghans right from 47, almost 77 years. There's not a single moment Afghans, they supported Pakistan. This was the only period from 96 to 2000 when the previous Afghans, the Taliban, they were in power. So there was a time when there was a respite for Pakistan. But look at present, the new world order, or the great game which is being played inside Afghanistan. The Indians are recently, they are very active inside Afghanistan. At the same time, the Americans, they are trying to open their embassy inside Afghanistan. Similarly, we have seen the shift in the Chinese and the Russians. When they recommended the United Nations, they recommended to have a UN envoy. They basically abstained from that activity, but Pakistan supported that.
Right,
So,
and even in the recent
yes.
United Nations meeting, Russia and China
So, yeah.
encouraged to engage Afghan Taliban.
Exactly. So this is the game of interest. So the interest of Pakistan is that we have demanded two things from Afghanistan. There will be no safe havens from the Afghan the terrorist TTP, and secondly, they should not be allowed to use safe havens as well as these weapons
Of course, these
attacking
advanced
inside
weapons that they have acquired.
across Pakistan.
But Brigadier Saab, at the same time, there is a perception that at this point in time, there is no high-level communication between Islamabad and Kabul. How do you take this, and what do you make of this situation?
We have special envoy Asif Durrani. He was recently, probably a month back, he was in Afghanistan. He attended an envoys conference. He, along with, there was a Chinese, Russian and Iranian envoys. They attended, and they were joined by the Afghanis. So they also discussed the security situation inside Afghanistan. So they showed their concern. At the same time, just to counter Doha conference, if you recall, the Afghan interim government, they they also arranged a conference inviting India, Indonesia and some other countries, and a message was given, everything inside Afghanistan is in the right hands. So there is nothing happening inside Afghanistan. But in the international community, the United Nations, the United States and other countries, the European Union, as well as they understand the real threat is inside Afghanistan. The proxies, the flow of the weapons, as we are talking now, is flowing not only to Pakistan, it will go to across the globe, and subsequently you will see they are going to strike across the globe. And recently the United Nations Analytics Study report, which says there are 4 provinces inside Afghanistan where the Al-Qaeda has established its new bases in those areas. So they are gaining strength with every passing day. So the threat is real.
Right, threat is real, and of course, Sheharyar, when we look at the threat, Afghan refugees and the recent repatriation of Afghans have also been, an issue of concern for many countries and for Afghan government as well. How do you look at this element's, of course, significance in security situation in Pakistan, keeping in mind that there were reports of sleeper cells operating, of course, within these refugees and these acting as one?
So Maryam, the whole issue of the Afghan refugees, that needs a bit of a clarity, but because around 500,000 Afghan undocumented migrants have returned to Afghanistan. 98% of those who have returned, they have done that voluntarily. They weren't forced, and around 2% of them were basically transported by the Pakistan government. So when it comes to the undocumented migrants, they're the ones who didn't have any papers, any documentation. They had significant chances of registering themselves with various Pakistan government entities. They chose not to. And undocumented migrants are not accepted in any country across the globe. If you don't have a visa, if you have a visa that runs out.
And a lot of these were actually involved in criminal activities and the sleeper cells, as per reports. What do you make of this?
Maryam, any population that is undocumented in such a large number residing in any country could be a significant security threat. Now, when we talk about refugees, the refugees that Pakistan is hosting, has been hosting since the 80s or 90s, they're still in Pakistan. They have the POR cards, they are registered, they're studying in Pakistani universities, they're doing jobs, they have businesses here, and they were not disturbed, they were not asked to go back. The unregistered and undocumented Afghans that have been here, and that, I don't understand why they would be in Pakistan and not registering themselves or not having any documentation. So that in itself shows a lot of suspicion. And that can emerge as a significant security threat. And only those undocumented Afghans were returned, and they returned voluntarily, by the way. 98% of them, according to Ambassador Asif Durrani, special envoy to Afghanistan. And even Ambassador Munir in the UN Security Council meeting also stated that these were voluntary returns. Only 2% of them which had a criminal record or had a dubious background.
So in your opinion, these, of course, undocumented migrants or refugees were actually harming or contributing to the current security situation in Pakistan as well?
I won't say all of them, but obviously there is significant evidence that comes out, and obviously if Pakistan's security agencies are feeling that there are significant proofs of involvement of some elements of the migrants, then obviously this is a significant security threat. And even if we don't look at it from a security lens, even if we look at it from the global migrant lens as well, if you look at what the European Union is doing, if you look at the US and all the developed countries, it is next to impossible to be undocumented and residing in their countries.
Right.
So,
So, Mr. Hassan, let's move towards the counter-terrorism strategy. And when we talk about counter-terrorism strategy, how do you think there is, there's need to balance the counter-terrorism strategy regarding engaging with Taliban aligned or in these terrorist groups without strengthening Taliban government in Afghanistan? Do you think there can be any roadmap regarding counter-terrorism strategy?
I think this is very important. I think I have observed that over the period of last few months or years, Pakistan has tried its level best to externalize this issue without looking into its internal dimension. I think the first thing to do is to put our own house in order, and one must have a proper city counter-terror strategy. Look, we were having this 20-point national action plan, and I think that was the best ever document produced to counter extremism, counter terrorism, and things like, especially the religious extremism. At the moment, if you look at the things, I think Pakistan has for the last few years, the best counter-terror strategy was using the kinetic operations. So we used our security forces, and our security forces valiantly, I think, fought against these terrorists in the most rugged terrain. And I think we lost brilliant officers, we lost brilliant soldiers, whether from the security forces, our police, especially police from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I think that they put a tough resistance to these terrorists during the last years and a half. But I think it shall be augmented with other look at our education system, look at the way engaging the youth. So I think it is the government,
Right.
and look at the
Right.
population.
So
I
Mr.
think the
Hassan, when you mention about, of course, having bilateral engagements with Afghanistan, how do you look at these calls made by Taliban and, of course, some banned outfits as well to engage with Pakistani organizations or leadership like Jamaat-e-Islami, Sami, and other Haqqani, organizations as well, who have previously played their role in 2013 and 14. Do you think that could be an option?
I think it might be the wish of the Amarat Islami or the Afghan Taliban asking Pakistan to get engaged with the TTP terrorists. I think Pakistan have tried a number of times, and the last one, which was not properly done. I think if any policy regarding engaging with the Taliban, if there will be any, I think that shall be come from the Parliament House, not from the individual like done in the past. So far, as far I see, Pakistan has no appetite for engagement with the TTP terrorists, and I think it has been communicated to the Afghan Taliban also that there is the only way to get engaged with them. They shall put their arms down, stop terrorist activities, accept the constitutions of Pakistan, accept the state threat, and I think surrender themselves to the government. That is the only way Pakistan at the moment is thinking. So far, I think, yes, there are reports, as you mentioned, that the Amarat-e-Islami, they are in support of getting engaged, engaging with the TTP. The way I think they engaged with the US government, that was a totally different story. TTP is a terrorist network, and they are killing innocent people. They are targeting innocent. They are targeting our security forces, police, and other government officers. So far as for I know, Pakistan is no more interested, because every time we have more than 18 what we call it type of agreements with various terror networks during the last 20 years, and I think each and every agreement, I think, exhausted in the benefit of the terrorist organization, whether it was the TTP or
Right.
it was Masood or Nek Muhammad or Fakir Muhammad or anyone, even the SWAT SWAT Taliban. So I'm not sure that
Right.
there be any talks of engaging the TTP in
Right.
near
And
future.
of course, that's something that Brigadier Sahib, you have also alluded to earlier. So when we look at, of course, US counter-terrorism strategy in Afghanistan, how do you think, what specific trade-offs US face regarding this counter-terrorism strategy in regards to Afghanistan, whether an interim Taliban government should be strong, or regime should be strong in Afghanistan, or should it be weak, because both the sides has its own pros and cons?
Exactly. When we talk of such like things, then it is the national interest of the countries which prevail. But however, recently, as I said earlier, the new game which is unfolding now inside Afghanistan is that the Americans, they are going to establish their embassy inside Afghanistan. So they said they are going to address issues like terrorism. That was one thing, the proxies gaining strength inside Afghanistan. Second, at the same time, addressing the economic issues of Afghanistan, interacting with the locals of Afghanistan and giving the consular access. These were the basic reasons they highlighted. But at the same time, since the Chinese are now inside Afghanistan, they are exposing the lithium, the reserves inside Afghanistan, so they are gaining strength in Afghanistan. They have accepted their so the American interest is now inside Afghanistan. Previously, they did ignore after signing their Doha Accord. So therefore, this is the interest of United States, the European Union, etc. And as I said, the threat is emanating from Afghanistan. The threat is also seriously for the Central Asian states. As we talked of Tehrik-e-Taliban, Tajikistan, the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and the ISK, and the foreign policy also carried in the article, the Indians and the Central Asians are the new face of Islamic State. So that is the strength, the threat really, which is now emanating from Afghanistan.
Right. So engagement with these, of course, Taliban also is going to have consequences. But in your opinion, what kind of policy roadmap should Pakistan be pursuing or putting forward in front of international community or its engagement with US or China that is realistic roadmap?
Exactly.
And of course that protects all the immediate neighbors of Afghanistan.
Exactly. We need to be proactive as we are. We have to be aggressive as we are. With the recent, the army chief has already categorically has given his frame of mind of taking the situation inside Afghanistan. At the same time, we would like to engage Afghan Taliban diplomatically, politically with them. And we don't want to have a political or diplomatic vacuum inside Afghanistan by not having talks with them. At the same time, the most important thing is involving China in the talks with Afghan Taliban, because China probably, as the recent steps they have taken, so probably they have to say they can prevail to some extent over the Afghan Taliban. But most importantly, we need, if all these things fail, we are desperate now, that we can go for a kinetic action to dismantle those safe havens inside Afghanistan. We demonstrated our capability when Indians, they tried to infiltrate inside Pakistan in February 2019, then recent attack in Sistan, Balochistan in Sarwan area. So we demonstrated so sovereign. As far as the violation of Pakistan's sovereignty, there will be no compromise as far as sovereignty is concerned. So it will be very limited. After all, then Pakistan will take these. If they are forced, then certainly they will go.
Of course, Pakistan would be forced to take such kinetic actions as well. But Mr. Hassan, you earlier asserted that Pakistan should be bilaterally engaging with the Afghan interim government. But at the same time, when we talk about United Nations Security Council recent engagements, do you think that United Nations is going to be taking more actions in engaging with Taliban government, as is indicated by different reports and recent UNAMA meetings as well?
Look, I think Taliban is a reality. Amarat Islami, it is a reality. They have the government and they have a territory and they have a control over the territory. And they have, I think, somehow put what we call it there, the security situation. Everybody is saying that the security situation in Afghanistan has improved. And they have also proven their mettle by running the government for the last more than almost 2 years now. So it's not only the United Nations. I think there are voices from various, like as mentioned by the Chinese government has almost, they have accepted the Taliban administration, and they have given recognitions or accepted credential of the Afghan Taliban ambassador there. So the European countries, they are also now engaging. The Russia is now very provocatively pursuing that policy. I think Pakistan should follow its own course. No doubt we are committed to the regional consensus vis-a-vis any engagement with the Taliban. However, for Pakistan, Afghanistan is a different story. For Afghanistan, Pakistan is totally a different country. Like the former president Hamid Karzai has once said that Pakistan and Afghanistan are conjoined twins. So, what I will suggest that Pakistan shall be also proactive. No doubt, these taking things to United Nations or other international forum, this may be good for optics. But as far as what I see, the best policy is to get engaged with the Afghan Taliban, avoid using loudspeaker or megaphone diplomacy, avoid accusing each other via media or public forums. The best is to get engaged, and I have heard, and I am privy to that Afghan Taliban want to get out of these situations. Maybe there are issues which we people are not aware of that. However, the government to government interactions, that will be far better than taking these issues to the international forums.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan Khan, journalist and senior analyst, for your valuable input for the program. And of course, Sheharyar, when we talk about engaging with interim Afghan government, in your opinion, what kind of specific measures or actions should Pakistan be demanding from the interim Afghan government to stop these cross-border infiltration and these attacks emerging from Afghan soil?
So, Maryam, first I can tell you what the current Pakistan policy is and what the future implications of the policy is and where we can go. Right now, Pakistan, initially, if you notice, when the Afghan regime took over in 2021 August, Pakistan was on the forefront on lobbying with international governments on the recognition of the Taliban. And why was Pakistan doing it? Because it was better for the region, it was better for regional stability, and it was better for regional integration as well. And the recognition of the Taliban regime would also come with a lot of international financial frameworks and international financial organizations. There would be investments, there would be regional growth and integration that we talk about in most of our programs. Now, once the region becomes destabilized by all of these militant organizations, terrorist organizations, and I also have this observation that a lot of countries are looking at their own self-interests when it comes to Afghanistan. Now, when it comes to security arrangements, the US and the Western allies, they are more concerned about Al-Qaeda and Daesh. They're not really concerned with TTP. They basically believe that TTP is an issue between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Right, but coming to your later last point, of course, there is a shift in Pakistan's policy after these, of course, attacks emerging from the Afghan soil. So, how do you think that Pakistan should be engaging with interim Afghan government to stop
a lot of analysts basically say there should be a bilateral agreement or a bilateral discussion between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I am of the view that Pakistan has to take a regional approach. Pakistan has already tried a lot of bilateral arrangements. They've gone with peace talks that have failed. They've discussed it with the one interim government as well. We've talked to Kabul, we've talked to Kandahar, we've sent religious scholars, we've sent military leadership, we've sent political leadership. None of that has ever borne any fruit whatsoever. Now there's a regional approach that is missing.
And how does Pakistan plan to engage diplomatically to, of course, have fruitful results for this regional approach?
So Pakistan is fighting its case very aggressively when it comes to all international fora as well. In the Doha conference as well, Ambassador Asif Durrani basically took forward Pakistan's case, Pakistan's concerns. Ambassador Munir gave a very strong statement in the UN General Assembly's meeting as well. Now when it comes to the regional blocs like SCO, they're very important because they also have a regional anti-terrorist network society that works on a lot of concerns. When you look at Central Asian countries, they have security concerns with Afghanistan as well. We have talked about IMU, we have talked about ETIM, we have also talked about Daesh. They're also attacking Iran as well. They're attacking Pakistan, and they're also attacking Uzbekistan. So all of these countries, they need to develop a holistic approach and come up with a joint strategy on pressurizing the Afghan government that there will not be any investment coming in to the Afghan regime if they do not take care of these militant organizations, terrorist organizations operating from their soil. And since there is like this whole vacuum when it comes to security in this like region, how do we expect all of these major projects that have to go through Afghanistan to have any sort of like security, infrastructure? Won't international multilateral organizations like the World Bank, ADB, be asking the Taliban regime then how will you make sure that all of these infrastructure projects are secure if you cannot like handle ISKP, if you cannot like handle
TTP? That we discussed in yesterday's program as well, that how infrastructure would be built in Afghanistan when we talk about energy pipelines as well. Right. So, Brigadier Masood, when we talk about Pakistan's ties with Afghanistan, in your opinion, how do you look at these ties, especially after the current surge in attacks emerging from Afghanistan soil?
The unfortunate part is that recently a statement made by the Foreign Minister of Afghanistan, Muttaqi Saab, and he, instead of talking of some bilateral relations between the two countries, he said Pakistan needs to be flexible while deporting those illegal Afghans from Pakistan. He did not talk of any terrorism and other thing. So Pakistan has this serious concern as far as terrorism is concerned, and we consider the Afghan government, they are unfortunate, they are not sincere. They are using these proxies as a bargaining chip, as a belt leverage against Pakistan. Despite our, as explained, despite our several efforts in the pause, even we send clerics, they haven't gave any positive message of addressing this issue of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. So that is serious unless they demonstrate their capabilities or to address the issue of our concern of safe havens and these illegal issuing weapons to the Afghan, the TTP, then I don't think.
Right, but Brigadier Sahab, in view of this gap in communication between Islamabad and Kabul, do you think that third powers could, of course, come in when we talk about India and other actors? So, of course, that remains a concern for Pakistan as well, because we have had our ups and downs with Pakistan ties with Afghanistan in history as well. How do you see future prospects of relations?
You are very right. As far as the recent development we have seen, the Indian, the Indians, they have entered inside Afghanistan. Though previously they called the technical team as representing India. But we saw then there was some engagement in Doha, Qatar, when they invited the Afghan charge d'affaires to their republic. They did not invite Pakistani ambassador from the UAE at Dubai. At the same time, J.P. Singh recently he visited Afghanistan. He was in Afghanistan. He met the foreign minister as well as he met the Ashraf Ghani, the former president. The Afghan interim government, they have allowed India to restart with the project which was pending previously when the Taliban took over the power. So at the same time, Sher Mohammad Satakzai, one of the deputy foreign ministers, he was commissioned from Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. So he basically facilitated the talks between the Indians and the Afghan Taliban. So the presence is there, and that is another serious threat to Pakistan. The presence is, they will stir problems inside Pakistan. They will destabilize Pakistan by using those proxies. At the same time, they will like to have a check on China by sitting inside Afghanistan. So with every passing day, this threat is getting stronger. We are getting more threats from Afghan soil. So it is up to now Afghan Taliban, the interim government, to look at the issues, the concerns of the Pakistan. Certainly, we always say the peace and stability inside Afghanistan is means peace and stability in Pakistan. So even Ambassador Munir also proposed some steps for the economic assistance to Afghanistan, unfreezing their account, etc. So Pakistan is very sincere as far as our efforts are concerned, but it is up to now Afghan Taliban to address our concerns.
Right. Thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Masood Ahmad Khan, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheharyar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Of course, as we conclude today's discussion, the question lingers that what the world needs to do to address this complex issue. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.